Welcome to the InfoTech Growth Partner Podcast, the podcast where the future of IT unfolds, and we dive deep into the pertinent developments in regards to IT and data with experts and leaders within the IT consulting field. My name is Jasper, and today I have the pleasure of not one guest, but two guests today. Michélle Booysen, CEO of Pétanque NXT, and Vincent Labuschagne, from executive director from Pétanque NXT as well. It's great to have both of you on the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's our pleasure. Thanks, Jasper.
Thank you.
Awesome. Can you guys give us a bit of introduction into your network, to the company, to your background, your company, and what both of your roles within the company is? Maybe Michélle, you can start.
Sure. My background is I started out as an attorney, and quite soon realized it wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, and then switched over to economics, with a view that businesses being the engine that drives economies, perhaps I could work towards improving how businesses work, and in doing so, assist businesses to succeed. And that's really where my journey started, with having a very active interest in the way that business processes work in businesses, because that is essentially the elements that makes a business achieve its results. So if you add process, people, and tech to any business, that essentially is how it needs to do what it's supposed to do. And from a company point of view, the company, we started that 22 years ago. And our aim was at that stage to look at, again, business processes and project implementation, because once you've looked at business processes and you said, this is what needs to change, or this is what needs to happen, somehow it's got to get implemented. So it was a good combination to have the process and the project management as one service, and the first 10 years of our business, that's what we focused on, and we did very well with that. And then we added change management, because the people aspect is equally important, and change management related specifically to the change that the project requires, or that the implementation requires. So the name Pétanque comes from the game Pétanque, which many know as pool. And the whole idea is that you have the cochonnet, or the jack, the little ball that you toss onto the playing field. That's the goal, the thing that you want to achieve. And then the different bull represents your strategies that you follow, and then the way that you play the game is your tactics, which means is eventually somebody's going to win and get closest to the cochonnet. And that's basically what business is. Sometimes you got to knock the competition out of the way, and business is supposed to be fun generally. So that's why we decided to choose the name Pétanque. So and then Vincent joined us. During the pandemic, I believe it was that Vincent joined us in the business. And so over to you, Vincent.
Vincent, can you introduce yourself as well?
Sorry, there's a slight delay on my side. Yeah, so my background prior to joining Pétanque, I suppose I have a similar story to Michélle, in the sense that she started out in one path, the legal fraternity, and ended up on another. I started wanting to become a qualified chartered accountant, and also going down that journey, discovered it was not really what I was destined for. Too much detail in that, and ended up going into management consulting. And after a few years running a small boutique consulting firm in the real estate industry, where I helped establish quite a few businesses, and helped large funds identify assets that they should acquire, shopping centers or portfolios of buildings. I then moved into a space where I assisted one of those large real estate investment funds in setting up their internal business frameworks. So the traditional way of working at the time was to outsource the management of the property assets, and we then didn't use anything. I was appointed into that business to set up the framework by which they would manage internally. So I brought the management in-house. And I then, from that business, moved on to another real estate business and did the same thing again, helped them put the framework in place, all the systems, processes, and help build that business operationally from the ground up. And then the pandemic happened, and been with Pétanque, where we help businesses to build themselves, find those efficiencies, bring about the change that makes business better.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. And I want to touch upon one of the topics that both of you already shared in your introduction. That's about like implementing a technology most of the times is because of a specific business adaptation that you want to go through. We have a lot of examples, of course. Can you share some of the examples that most businesses go through that require technology in that sense? And how should businesses make sure that this technology actually aligns with their strategic goals as well?
Certainly. Yeah, so I think maybe I should answer that one. The first step would be to understand your process. And the reason why we'd say that we're in fact going through this with a company at the moment, where we're documenting all of their processes, and a question arose in the session today about the need to do the as is, to document the way things are currently being done. There was a desire to move on to where are we going to be in the future? Let's document that future state. And that's the wrong way to go about it. So start with, how are we doing business at the moment? Because once you understand that as your baseline, you can then see, firstly, where to apply technology, but also the sequence. So I can now look at my process and see, I seem to expose myself to risks, compliance risks. Maybe that's an issue. So how do we create KPIs to detect where we are being exposed to these risks? And if you haven't started with that baseline, if you've already gone to the to-be state, the future state, you won't have those risks because you would have designed them out of your process. So we start with where you are, and then we can see, okay, well, we want to address risks. It's compliance risks, so we need a system, a technology that's going to help us record and track these risks. So that's the first intervention we could apply. Then we could say, well, how do we take the risks out? So now at least we're managing them, but how do we remove the risks? Then we could say, well, what if we put an automation in place? So the risk on this step is a person is filling in a form and they swap digits around, or they put the decimal point in the wrong place. So how do we take that potential for human error out? We can place an automation on that step of the process. So understanding process is going to guide you in, one, telling you what sequence of change you need, and two, what technological interventions are going to bring about the change that you want. And it sometimes is surprising. You start off on the journey thinking, we want robotic process automation. But you go down this road and discover, well, actually, a better business intelligence system is the answer. If we had a report that gave us that output, that would be the answer we needed. Where initially we thought robotic process automation was the answer we needed. By doing the underlying process, you then can find the best solution to the problem rather than the solution you think is the one that you need to implement.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for sharing. And you've already shared some examples of business changes that require adaptation, require technology, such as targeting a new market, scaling up, maybe a key person or key executive leaving. Are there any additional real-world scenarios or examples that you can share that have increased the effectiveness of the businesses that you work with and led them to get closer to their strategic goals as well?
So definitely a recent example is an automation of a facilities management process. So where a business had a number of property assets, and there is a need to maintain those assets. You need to manage the soft services, cleaning, security. You need to order things. The bathrooms need cleaning materials. They need toilet paper. Things get broken. The lift stops working or needs scheduled maintenance. You need inspections of certain statutory things. For example, the fire extinguishers need services. Certain of the electrical equipment needs scheduled maintenance and services. So you have all these different facets. You've got service level agreements. You've got scheduled maintenance from equipment perspective, but also a regulatory perspective. And you have ad hoc things that happen that break down. There's customer service as well. A tenant of the building may have an issue and need a place to voice that issue and have that issue fixed. So manual process would be that a job card gets filled out or an email gets sent, and that then gets captured into an accounting system, and a purchase order gets issued to a supplier. Supplier goes and does the work. They issue an invoice. The invoice gets emailed. It gets checked. It gets printed out very often and manually signed by various departments and delegations of authority, and eventually that invoice gets paid. And after unpacking that process, we then were able to identify an opportunity for automation. So introducing a system where you can program your scheduled maintenance, you can program your service level agreements in terms of when those services need to be rendered, if they're scheduled, when they are registered, what are the actions, a checklist of items that the service provider needs to go through. So you have completeness and insight into what's happening, and then getting the invoicing and the quotations into that system as part of an approval workflow. And when it's approved, that automatically pushes into the accounting system. And all of that can be managed on an app. You can initiate a work request on site. So if you see an issue, the glass entrance door glass is broken, you can there and then log a call using your mobile application, and that goes into the process. And doing that reduced the payment turnaround times of that customer from 60 days down to 7, because that's how long they wanted to take. Could have been less. And the time to do work was reduced also from in the region of 60 days down to under 30 days. So 50% improvement in time to do work, and about an 80% improvement in the time to pay invoices.
I want to add to that, Vincent, that in a project we're currently busy with, not in the retail or in the real estate industry, but quite a heavy logistics process. We put some automation in from using nothing fancier than, or that might be fancy in some people's eyes, Office 360 or Microsoft 365 Power Automate, and the cost of doing the automation and comparing that to the time and the cost, in other words, the salaries you'd pay people, the repayment of that is 9 months. That after 9 months of having this system, all the costs of doing the work, understanding the processes, doing the changeover to Power Automate, it's going to be 9 months of turnaround. So these things don't have to be seriously expensive, and usually there are options. You can go the really smart option, you can go the middle of the road option, and you can go the low option. And that's what we love doing, is because once you have a process, you can then make those choices and say, it's really not necessary to go this heavy at this point in time. If we do this over here, then over here, we don't actually need a big system to manage it. And we've seen that over and over, is that there is a saying that these days there's more solutions than what there are problems. So the main thing is understand where the problem is, and then you start looking for how to solve it.
And I think if I could just also bring it back to the question around adaptation, how does technology help businesses adapt? In all of these situations, the end result was better customer service. So that's also important up front, is what are we trying to achieve by this process? Is it efficiency? Is it cost cutting? Is it customer service? Is it quality? Are we trying to produce a better quality product? So you apply that lens to the process mapping to then make sure the technology you apply gives that right result. It meets the right business objective.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a very good point that you made. Like, especially with technology, there's a lot of companies try to do a lot with it without actually thinking about the actual business value or the actual outcome that they want to achieve. And maybe to add on to that as well is that there's a lot of technological solutions that are being created, whether it's a system, an application, a platform, a dashboard, whatever. But most of the time, the actual adoption and actual usage of such tools is not really maximized, let's say it like that. So what I want to touch upon here is more on the project management and change management side of actually implementing these technologies. Can you share some of the technological challenges businesses face when implementing a new technology and how they can address these effectively?
Well, I'll speak from the change management point of view. Very few of us in life really love change. And when you're already working at pretty much full capacity or full speed, you still need to make sure that what needs to be produced or happens while you're learning something new. So the aspect of new technology, and that's where we quite often help software companies to make their products stick, is that if you don't motivate people, to learn how it works and to start applying it, but B, let them experience the benefit of it, then making your software, doesn't matter how cool a tool it is, stick, is jeopardized. So in having people accept that change and really learn the software or the new way of doing, or the automation. A, what's in it for me? B, what's in it for me? And C, what's in it for me? So constantly drive that home, along with obviously teaching people, because often when you know how to do something, then it's half of the objection disappears, and then it is just sticking with it, because we all know it's easier it's like anything. If you start going to gym for the first couple of days, you're all sorted and you're going, and then after the fourth day you're saying, is this what it's going to be like? You've got to see the benefits quite quickly. And from a project point of view, the project is about the change and the technical things that needs to happen. Something might need to be switched off, other things might need to be cut over, and there's a way also to make that happen, and align that with the actual change management. Whether you use, I've noticed in the last couple of weeks there is such a drama about agile and the agile way, that it actually didn't deliver all that everybody was hoping it would. For us, project management is do the things that's going to make this thing work. And if you want to call it agile, that's cool. If you want to call it something else, that's also good, so long as we make it work. And the main thing is that there should be milestones, and those milestones must be achievable, and again, show the project benefits alongside with the people benefits that comes along with that. So that's generally our approach. It's based in project management principles. It is based in Lean Six Sigma principles in the process side. All sorts of, there are so many process methodologies and approaches. Ours is based on making it understandable for people, and whatever it takes, that's what we use. And the baseline we use is storyboarding. We have found in 22 years of doing what we do that the storyboarding part is one that actually helps that change stick, because people can relate to it. I think that's basically an approach that we would highly recommend. Is also understand who your client is. Sometimes when we go into the larger corporations, the multinationals, obviously they've got set ways of doing things that they do. They've got set methodologies and approaches. But if you just take these principles into those, then you'll also succeed in doing that and getting the benefit.
Well, thank you for sharing. Anything you want to add there, Vincent, on this topic?
Yeah, I think what I wanted to highlight in what Michélle was saying is from the Agile and Scrum, I suppose that's part of the same branch of project management, where we have often seen a failing of those systems. And it's not then just those systems, it's virtually any system of trying to implement change is where there's a lack of clarity. So where I've defined a change, but I haven't developed clarity on what exactly that change means. So as an example, I want to chop a tree down. That's the change I want. Okay, what tree? Where is the tree? Who's going to chop it? What are you going to chop it with? Is it an axe? Is the axe sharp? So it's going through that process of getting not necessarily granularity down to the minutest level of detail, but getting clearer at least than that initial, this is what we want, this is the change we want. You need to ask why 5 times to get to the level of clarity that you want. And the storyboarding methodology we saw in a session today, one of the participants wasn't so happy about it, but I think that participant was impatient, wanting an end result. The other participants debated what the steps in the process were, and that gave clarity. So one person was saying, well, we do it on this stage, and another one said, no, but we do that 2 steps later. And then they realized actually they're doing it twice. So they are doing it in both of those steps, but now they didn't have that collective knowledge. Individually, they thought they were doing it once, and now collectively we see, we're actually dealing with the client about the same thing twice. So unpacking a process using storyboarding is one of the ways to get that level of clarity that you need.
Exactly, and I think what we're discussing here is a lot of examples of that there comes a lot more to implementing technologies than most companies and most people think about. It's about the people, it's about the processes that you have in place, it's about the current state that you're in, and of course the outcome that you want to get out of it. And in between that, it's about actually making sure there is change within the business and managing that project in a good way. Let's say it like that. Maybe as a last question for both of you, you obviously have a lot of experience in change, in technology, in those types of things. What are some of the future trends that you foresee in maybe especially the relationship between technology and people and processes, and how should companies prepare for these trends?
If I can take a first stab at it, sorry, Michélle. So then my line cut out there for a second, so I didn't want to carry on speaking. If I take a first stab at it and I speak of AI, I think that is a hot topic. AI is going to invade the workspace. It is invading the workspace, and it'll continue. And there will be other such disruptive technologies. So I think the universal constant that we can expect is change. And what we need to do is understand how our relationship with one another, with our processes, with our customer, how that needs to adapt with the use of technology. So it's not to say that humans are going to be replaced by artificial intelligence or be replaced by robots. Aspects of what we do, yes, aspects of it will be replaced. But there's, at least for the foreseeable future, as far as I can see into the future, humans need to bring about a creative element. So the trend is that we need to step away from rote processes, monkey see, monkey do type of things, and upskill ourselves to communicate better, to find creativity in what we're doing, to find those opportunities for enhancement. In terms of management as an example, if we take that as an example, it's possible I can go onto ChatGPT and describe a situation that I have with a staff member and ask ChatGPT, how should I handle this staff member? Yes, I could do that. I don't think that that person would appreciate being handled that way if they were to discover that's what I've done. So my responsibility in the future of technology is to ensure I'm able to bring humanity into the future workplace. So technology is coming, that's the trend. How do I maintain humanity in that? And that means I need to do something I wasn't taught. At school, I wasn't taught how to communicate effectively. I wasn't taught how to convey a concept in a psychologically safe way. In school, we were taught, why are you doing that? Why are you doing this? Why? And it's very rigid, and we need to open up, become more creative, and rather ask what questions. What is the purpose of doing this thing that you're doing? Not why are you doing it? What is the purpose? And then we can delve into it. So, trend for me, technology is going to be more and more invasive, and our responsibility is how do we maintain humanity as technology becomes more pervasive in the workplace.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that in saying that what I experience is, if, for instance, you talk about blockchain in supply chains, there is a huge division between those who have accepted or the early adopters, if you take the bell curve, and those who are saying, I don't understand it, I don't really know what this is about. So for me, the trend is that those early adopters are going to be shaping the way and the how the late adopters are getting into this. So if you're a creative type and you don't like following the crowd, then it is better to get to understand it now and grow with it, because it's anybody who tells me these days is that they're an expert in AI or an expert in blockchain, it can't be, because nobody has enough knowledge to be able to say I'm an expert. You may know a lot about something, but for me, the main element is that there's a definitive trend of those who are adopting are looking at the world in a much different way than those who are sort of still on, well, let's see where this is going. And it's this new way that is going to be what is today the Gen Zs, what is going to be the customer and the consumer of tomorrow. And if companies do not grow with that space, then the chances of you losing market share, losing the traction on your strategy is perhaps a little bit bigger. And again, I'm no expert in predictions, but that is just generally what I see. I was part of a hackathon a couple of weekends ago, and the hackathon specifically looked at ensuring privacy on the blockchain. So already there's so many layers on the concept of blockchain, and if you've not familiarized yourself with how could it potentially help me, then you're already losing on a next layer and a next layer. So, and the best way to just start getting into this is to tune into webinars, listen to what people are saying, and say, you've just said this, but I don't understand how that applies to me, and get to understand it. And I think that is probably a bit of a challenge for many business leaders who, first of all, they've got to keep the company going, but again, got to keep doing what you're doing, and you've got to learn something new. So it's the same as whether you're changing something in the process or you're learning to adopt a new technology. The fact is, you've got to learn fast, but you need to learn in a way that makes sense to you, because if it doesn't resonate to you with you, then why would you hang around it? Why would you make that learning stick with you? So.
Exactly. Well, thanks for sharing. And I think all of the things that both of you have mentioned about technology and what's around it, let's say it like that, what you should think about all around it is very important and a very good consideration for most businesses to take into account every time they are involved with new technological change and new business adaptation as well. If someone wants to learn more and has listened to this conversation and wants to find out more about you and about the company, where can they find you?
Well, Jasper, thanks again for the opportunity. Of course, LinkedIn. I will be happy to respond to anyone on LinkedIn. We also have a Pétanque NXT LinkedIn profile, and WhatsApp. WhatsApp is always a good way to go, and or email. So we obviously via our website, these different many connect with us buttons. That's possibly the easiest one. Our LinkedIn profile is on there, so you will be posting our website link, I'm sure. And just as a clarification, which we didn't start off with, is I'm the CEO. We have 3 companies, 1 in the Netherlands and 2 in South Africa. And Vincent is one of our executive directors, and he is based in South Africa. I'm based in the Netherlands. So we do quite a bit of business also in international markets. If I say international markets, then I say cross-border, the US. We'd love to get into Canada soon. And We are very blessed in the sense of that every project we take on is so unique that's why we love our job. And I speak for you too, Vincent, is every project has its own very unique way and great challenges to get into. In 22 years of doing this, I have not had a single project that was similar to another one. And that's what we love is we're a creative bunch. And we like working with the leadership of a business, not being the consultant telling you what to do, but being the sounding board and co-creating solutions with you as the leader.
Wow. And yeah, everyone that's listening, I would definitely take advantage of this opportunity to talk to Pétanque NXT, because there's a lot of things that they can help you with. And of course, I will share the links in the description as well, so you know where to find them. Again, thanks to both of you. Thanks for sharing those insights. And yeah, good luck with everything that you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.